So here is Hunt a Killer Initiation month or number 2. And here is another package. So this continues the story that we've had before. Again, some help in case you need some hints, or make sure you have everything in your box. So I noticed my video last time was very long, so in order to keep this one maybe shorter or more useful, I actually just took my time and had fun with it, and I will just kind of basically introduce this to you and go with the answers. So again, we have our Listing Friends of America folder. We have another object, looks like an empty box. We have our package from Megan that has inspected all of the notes and stuff from Jasper and Sylvia. So when I opened up the package, this one was on top, so I brought this one first. The postage was the same as the last one, so I realized there wasn't any sort of special code or anything within that one. And we have the Galen County Sheriff's Office and a note from Felix again. So Felix, X letters. Listening friend, I have a growing concern about the stability of the Bosnian facility. Something isn't quite right regarding what Randall told me. He could not have taken the full tour because Dr. Cortez doesn't have the proper clearance codes to see the entire facility. Only I do. From what I remember, Dr. Cortez is not much of a talker either. I hope that this is only perhaps because Randall is more charming than I. We'll continue to remain covert in our efforts to understand the situation. I absolutely do not want to shoot the pooch as a pup. The only thing to be done is to maintain our current course of action. If the plan needs altering, I will let you know. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Expect to hear from me again at a time to be determined. Onward well, Felix. So, yeah, kind of going off of the previous letter, he kind of hinted that he needed our help with something, but didn't really quite describe what it was. And this kind of adds to the story a little bit. So he is leery of Dr. Cortez. You'll see over here that Randall is the sheriff, and he obviously contacted the sheriff to ask for his help to investigate, again, something. He's not really being very straightforward with what the problem is. But he's looking for our help to try to discover something. I have my own theories, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But going to the next letter here. So, Sheriff's Department, Gallatin, I think it's pronounced, County Sheriff's Office, from Randall the Sheriff. Dear Felix, I've got an update for you on that problem you wrote me about. I drove out to your facility to have a look around like you asked and met with Dr. Cortez, who gave me a full tour of the grounds. I have to say that's quite a setup you've got there. From the way folks around here talk, I guess I was expecting it to be sort of grim, but it's not so bad. Maybe a little worn around the edges, but pretty cozy, I'd say. Anyway, Dr. Cortez showed me the administrative offices and the rec room and let me poke around in a couple of empty patient rooms too. We had a good long chat about how things have been going out there, and as far as I can see, everything's running pretty smoothly. All in all, I was impressed. Seems like the patients are comfortable and the building's in good shape, and apart from the grounds being a bit overgrown, I didn't notice anything too out of the ordinary. I hate to say it, but I think you may have been making a mountain out of a molehill, if you see what I mean. I have a couple more details I want to verify before I'm completely satisfied, but if you ask me, you're in good hands with Dr. Cortez. That Will's one of the good ones, I'd say. And if you remember from last time, Will is Cortez's first name. I'll be sending you my full report soon. In the meantime, I hope this puts your mind at ease. All my best, Randall. All right, so what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that Felix is concerned enough that he wanted a sheriff to come out to look around the place. Now, either Randall was fooled into thinking that he saw everything and Dr. Cortez is hiding something. Otherwise, he would have been just, hey, I don't have access to these areas. Or Felix is not trusting of Dr. Cortez and Randall, the sheriff. It's hard to tell at this point. I think it's kind of weird that if Felix was, concerned, why wasn't he there with the sheriff in order to open up to all these different areas? But again, I'm sure the story will unfold as we go forward. All right. So onto the other package. We have quite a bit of stuff here. So first we have, obviously this is gonna be our cipher. We have some letters around in a circle. We have two rings of letters and nothing on the back. So obviously we're gonna be using this. We have a picture of, looks like a computer monitor. What we can see here is we have a plant, a camera, we have a hang in there poster, a National Geographic, again the photo of that one lady, probably the most famous National Geographic. Some pens, some books that's too hard to read, and again just some kind of other stuff. Nothing on the back. Here's our our letter from Jasper. Here's our letter from Sylvia. We have our letter from Meg, and then, it looks like a copy of a journal page. So, Listening Friends of America. Dear listening friend, I hope you are enjoying your relationship with your new friend, even if it is a little one-sided. I also hope the new initiative is proving to be helpful to you, but I hope I do not chase you away from the program by suggesting that there is anything dangerous in our process. Our process is like any other. It is a lot like developing film, which I do often. Your friend puts a snapshot in their outgoing bin, and then we pick it up. The inspection process is a lot like coaxing the image from the film to the print. There are steps to follow, and jargon and chemicals. Every time I look at my camera, I think about how crazy it is that photography can apply to so many things. We really are just looking out for your mental well-being to keep you healthy and whole. Thanks for listening. Meg Gibson, Inspector. And as you probably remember from the last box or the last episode, in a very awkward speech, run-on sentences, the points don't really make heck of a lot of sense. So again, there may be something in this. I kind of have a theory that the kind of coded documents from the website probably correlate with this, but again, we haven't quite made it that far quite yet. So again, we'll make our notes and move forward. So, letter from Sylvia. As you can see, in bad copy, but we have some burned edges. I don't know if that means anything. Dear Jasper, it's been a while since you left, so I wanted to finally reach, and it's really hard to read because the whole inspected stamp, finally reach, I think it says, out, and I'm sorry it took so long, but I needed some time to process everything. When I heard about what happened, I didn't know how to react. Something about maybe like it didn't or it can't make sense to me. I don't believe you're capable of killing unless you felt you had no other choice. Did Manny hurt you? Was he abusive toward you emotionally, mentally? I can try to help if you tell me what happened. I don't expect you to open up right away, but just know that I'll be here for you. So what does this tell us? Well, this tells us that Sylvia does have contact with Jasper, that she may even uncoded that message that was included to us. So kind of going off of Megan's previous statement, looks like Jasper does have some contact with Sylvia, and there is some two-way communication. And and maybe Sylvia deciphered that, and looks like Sylvia knows that, hey, Jasper killed Manny. So how are you holding up? Is the therapy coming along well? The circumstances aren't exactly ideal, but I'm sure it's nice to talk to a professional. Maybe they'll help sort out this whole mess. It'd be great if they could release you soon. I was invited to put on a demonstration at this artisan expo in Helena. It's about a month away, and I'd love for you to be able to come see it. The shop is still doing fine, in case you were wondering. I didn't want to mess with your workstation while you're away, but I needed to do some cleaning. Don't worry though, I put everything back in the same exact place. I know how particular you are of your desk, so I took a photo for reference before cleaning it off. When you come back, everything will be just the way you left it, even your special copy of The Sound and the Fury. So this tells us that, hey, this picture is the picture of Jasper's desk, and he's very particular about where things are. Either that is, characteristic of his disorder, or there's something important he doesn't want people looking or messing around with. It also tells us that the book that we can't quite read, one of them is The Sound and the Fury. Feel free to look that up on Wikipedia. It is, and I'll show that too later in the film or the episode here. But anyway. Speaking of, I wanted to send you some books to help you pass the time, but I don't think I'm allowed. My colleague at Montana State sent me a really interesting book on, I think it's pronounced Farrier, that I think you'd love. It's given me some inspiration for my next jewelry line, actually, something Esquarian themed. So if you can look that up again, it's kind of the skill or the trade of care for a horse's foot, either filing off or caring for the hoof itself, or what usually it meant it had to do with attaching horseshoes. How does a horseshoe necklace sound? Horseshoes are such iconic symbols of early craftsmanship. They remind me of the tame, well trained workhorses I grew up seeing on every neighbor's farm. An obedient horse will never jump a rail fence as long as it's well crafted. The standard rail fence has a height of 3 and a cycle of 4. So really suspicious paragraph, right? Obviously, this is going to be a reference or a clue to our cipher that we will find later on. I also like the idea of a stallion necklace, though. Stallions are wild and unbridled. They look the most beautiful running at full speed, completely free from human control. They are their own masters. Now, I'm not sure which necklace I'd prefer. Take care, Sylvia. And now, maybe reading into things, but these two options sound a lot like maybe her relationship with Jasper. Whether she would like him to kind of be cured and perhaps maybe more normal, or wanting him to be out and free and being who he is. But again, maybe I'm probably reading too much into that. So I'm definitely going to take a mental note of, again, this very awkward paragraph, this awkward sentence. Again, that's going to be some sort of code, cipher clue for some sort of code. And then we have this journal page. Now it is reversed, and so I will be showing shortly it normally, because being that the handwriting is so terrible, it's really hard to read when it's reversed. But again, I'll show that to you in just a second. Hello again, new friend. So Jasper's note to us. I recently fixed the missing keys. What a glaring irregularity in the machine, having neither Z nor J. So you might remember from our last episode, that was kind of the clue on how to go Bart and solving his hidden message. And here he is either hinting for the person who couldn't quite figure it out, hey, kind of take a look back at that Z or that J, notice that they're missing. Or this is just another kind of clue maybe later on. It worked out in the end, I think. Unfortunately, the keys still stick a little. Things are not working in harmony. There is dissonance. I will continue to tinker with the typewriter until it achieves the perfect balance. This will be another small project to explore. Where are the points of friction? Where does the machine work well? Do they require annexation? Are there any parts that aren't necessary? So as you can see, according to this, the Z and the J only are working, but only give the capitals. Again, that could be a clue. We'll keep that in mind as we go forward. Vestigial organs are present in many species in the world. Did you know that? Do you see any? Most biologists claim that our own appendix is one. I am not so sure. Never mind the biologists. I eagerly anticipate another vault into an even bigger project. And again, you might remember vault from before. That may be kind of a clue to help out people who didn't quite get it, or that's referencing something that we're not quite sure about. But I will pace myself. Patience is imperative, so is prudence. My second family's illustrated collection of fables by Aesop included one about a grasshopper who spends the entire summer season dancing and singing. He criticizes the ant who spends the summer working and harvesting for the winter. When winter finally arrives, the grasshopper, dying of starvation, begs the ant for food. The industrious ant spurns the improvident grasshopper and spends the season warm and sated. The grasshopper dies in the cold, a speck in the snow. The difference between the survival of the ant and the suffering of the grasshopper is easy to distill. The ant had what the grasshopper did not, patience and prudence, i.e. a plan. If the grasshopper had a plan to follow, a formula to plot, he would have found himself with a sense of direction, and that would have given him more time to live. That is how any of us get anywhere, direction and time. You can see that Sylvia is patient with me. She can be very excitable sometimes, but I am patient with her. I am not partial to her farrier-themed jewelry, but then we all have our tastes. I prefer moving parts, like the hinge in this mirrored box. Sylvia has tastes that I can sometimes teeter on the edge of eccentric. She lacks focus and adaptability. We both know how her expo went. I assume by your agreement to this pen pal program that you too have patience, but do you have prudence? The crow that flies and lands is wise and rests to fly another day. The gull that sails too far will fall into the sea and wash away. That is something I remember, but I do not know from when or where I learned that phrase. Over the years, I have come to learn that empirically, the metaphor holds true. Even seagulls are not built to fly forever over the sea. Just as you or I may be built for only one purpose or another, that is why it takes more than ourselves to do truly great things. Do you not think so? That is why society has various roles to fill, and different people are suited to different roles. A sheriff came by the other day. I did not speak with him, but I did see him. He appeared to be a rather rugged yet handsome man, well built for law enforcement, just as I am well built for my role here. I have made a joke for you to please enjoy. What did the grasshopper need to tend to his farm? Ever so cordially, Jasper. All right, so maybe just be kind of red herrings or awkward phrases, but he mentions the sheriff in a very interesting way. He also mentions the statement and the fable here. Now, obviously, he's referring to this to help kind of direct us, and we see some if you know anything about trig, these are angles that we can definitely work with this in order to get a phrase. All right, the first thing we have here on the left, you'll see The Sound and the Fury, a novel written by William Faulkner. I have never read it personally, but it looks like the plot is in kind of four different sections, with each section either being narrated or written by a different character in the story. But all kind of centers around Benjamin Benji Compson, an intellectually disabled 33-year-old man. Being what we know about Jasper, it's possible he may kind of see himself in this character, or again, this is just another red herring, just to kind of give this us something to think about. But yeah, if you're curious, you can go ahead and read this. The next thing we'll look at here is the page. Now, they've kind of alluded to us using the box as a mirror to read the backwards page, but I think that we're a little more, technical savvy than that, and I just reverse this up in Photoshop. So to kind of look through it here, grasshopper escapement. The grasshopper is trapped maybe 4 all time. Left alone again. Time circles around and each hand clicks like a slap in my face. Here something I in may something place may I in my barren here something I in my barren place. This actually kind of is a hint and kind of alludes to one of the puzzles, which we'll again talk about if you want to go into the spoiler region. Next one here, palette to palette. I am finished, and so the next palette takes the pressure until it is my time again. I give you the mausoleum of all hope and desire. I give it to you not that you may remember time, but that you may forget it now and then forget it now and then for a moment and not spend all of your breath trying to conquer it. Because no battle is ever won, he said. They are not even fought. The field only reveals to man his own folly and despair, and victory is an illusion of philosophers and fools. We have here the years along the line, the cogs of which define how time is measured, how space unfolds, how to each his own tale is told. Father, mother, why did you not give me a watch? We have some math here, again, kind of hints at one of the puzzles. And the galloping horse whose hooves beat in time, the clicking of space going by. So again, this journal page really kind of hints and really kind of puts you in the mindset, if not directly points you at how to solve some of the puzzles or how to think about some of these things to notice certain aspects. Spoiler time, spoiler time. Here I draw your attention to certain aspects of the game and how I solved them. So if you want to, do it yourself, or stop here and reference it back when you're all done to see if you have everything. All right, on to some solutions and my thinking process. So first thing, I like to start with the Jasper's clue. If you know anything about trig, obviously these are angles. So I had to actually look up because I didn't quite remember it from over 10 years ago. But this gives you a direction on which letter this is.
So instead of bringing up my calculator, I basically just brought up degrees and radians, and this kind of helped me to understand the degrees, because I think in angles, I think in degrees, and allowed me to point toward the correct letters.
So if you go ahead and do that, starting with east, because you're thinking in a normal kind of XY graph, it will spell out the word hands, which again makes sense with the riddle. What did the grasshopper need to tend to his farm? He needed hands. And if you remember from last time, the clue is one of the passwords, which we'll bring up later. Now, this one here, honestly, took me some time because I had to do some research because I was not familiar with this type of code or this type of cipher. So, upon reading it, you did notice down here we do have some letters in a row here, and a little thing that I assumed it was an apostrophe. Did it once without it, didn't really work out. Put the apostrophe in as a letter, and it did work. Now, kind of going back to the kind of weird, this weird paragraph here, talks about a well-crafted um, rail fence with has a height of 3 and a cycle of 4. So I looked up some stuff and I found it eventually that there is a rail fence cipher, which you will see here. Basically, what it is, it gives you some information about how many rows and how many columns there are, and you go across and now you can read it. And again, ignore my failed attempt here, but if you put it in correctly, it says, I found a way. And if you remember from last month's clue or Sylvia's note, basically it sounds like Sylvia is trying to help or trying to find a way to kind of free Jasper from what we assume is some sort of imprisonment from this facility.
So as I said, these kind of hint at angles and kind of help you think about kind of solving that clue. We also have a horse and a clock here. I took a look at this. I didn't find anything significant with how the hands are laid out. However, horses, clocks, and hooves and angles and stuff kind of help you figure out which word and which direction to go for the website aspect of it. So one of the archives gives us yet another page where we see a lot of, at this point, gibberish. Obviously, in the future, we'll probably maybe the last month, we'll put all these together to get some sort of information or clue or something like that. I do notice that these things are kind of spaced out. You notice some words, kind of similar to last time. We have, Cronus and some other things. But again, it's quite clear that this isn't for right now. So we'll just save it and kind of move on. Going on the other side, with everything, we open up Megan's notes. Again, kind of similar to last month. Last month, I figured that this is probably like a cheat helping us to make sure we don't miss anything. But there actually is something that I found pretty enlightening that either I was mistaken or I didn't understand before. So Megan Gibson, patient name Jasper Flowers, yada yada yada. So here is the inventory sheet and description. The Listening Friends of America letter explaining that our new initiative is not the result of anything worth concern. I believe to be a lever with an analogy of photography. Again, kind of that weird, awkward letter. Patient letter. It looks like Jasper is attempting humor, which is a good thing, but his punchline reminds me of geometry or trig class. Again, a little hint there in case you got stuck or didn't quite realize that. Picture of my desk. I thought that our listening friend would appreciate learning a bit more about me and how I work. So this kind of tells me that maybe I was mistaken with the other letter, that this picture is actually of Megan's desk and not of Jasper Flowers' desk. We kind of alluded before that Jasper has dissociative disorders, and it also kind of is strange that Jasper seems to know passwords and how to access things from Megan. So either they're working in cahoots, perhaps because of the dissociative disorder, maybe that you're in the same person. Again, just kind of some wild theories, but that really surprised me that, oh, I thought this picture was Jasper's desk and not Megan's desk. Or this is from Jasper's point of view, but doesn't quite sound like it because everything else is from Megan's kind of point of view. Letter from an outside friend, Sylvia. Again, it appears that everything is fine with this letter, except that it has gotten damaged somehow. Again, we kind of remember the what looked like burned edges or water damage or something. But I do not think it was like that when it came through IA inspection. Sylvia does like to go on about horses. What is the difference, I mean, besides the obvious, between the stallion and a horseshoe? It's kind of weird that she kind of alludes to this. Again, this may be kind of a clue or some sort of metaphor for what's going on with Jasper. Again, we have a horseshoe, maybe kind of a symbol of course, luck, but of course, being useful, being tame, being a workhorse, versus a stallion, something that is, free and under its own accord. Metal box, what a shiny finish. It's almost like a mirror. I suppose this is another trinket from Sylvia that he was unloading. So again, kind of a hint that, hey, you can use this as a mirror to look at the phrases backwards. But again, we just did the Photoshop route. Grasshopper print, I like this print. A grasshopper, letters, and a circle are all connected in some way. I suppose Jasper made this in his old craft room. Again, just a little hint to kind of direct you in case you're stuck. Page from sketchbook. Jasper is such a talented artist. His journal looks like a page out of a notebook of Leonardo da Vinci. So again, not too much information there with that seventh item there. But again, it looks like again just some kind of direction in case you get stuck. You need some kind of help to kind of put you on a first step towards solving it in case you're completely lost. So here we have our notes that we made last time, and I've added some new notes, obviously highlighted here. So going under Jasper Flowers and friends with Sylvia the jeweler, it appears that he can actually communicate with Sylvia, and that Sylvia learned that he killed Manny. But how does Sylvia and Jasper communicate? It hasn't really quite been explained, but it seems that Jasper can actually get notes out or information out, even though in the first month it appeared that maybe he couldn't. Sylvia is important to Jasper, but he feels he cannot tell something being. And I question is like, oh, was it being a murder? In this case, no. He actually told her that he killed Manny. Some new information: he has a book, Sound and the Fury, by William Faulkner. Letter number 2. Again, fix the Z and JKs, but they're still always caps. Referencing dissonance, harmony, and repair, spoke of the ant and the grasshopper. Maybe he's kind of showing us that we need patience and prudence for a task that maybe he's asking for us in a little bit. Believes that Sylvia lacks focus and adaptability, is eccentric. Believes the gull and crow statement reflects his stay in the facility, maybe. And the letter of the code spells hands. So with Sylvia, I learned that Jasper killed Manny. So she may have solved the clues that we solved, or maybe they communicated in a different way. Didn't know how to react that Jasper killed Manny, explaining that he must have had a reason. So she still believes that he, is a good person, and if he was to do so, there must have been a good and logical reason, because obviously Jasper isn't a bad guy. Would love Jasper to attend the Artisan Expo in Helena, 1 month away. Maybe next month's package, maybe we'll reference it. Clean Jasper's desk, and again, what I originally thought was maybe Jasper's desk, but maybe Megan's desk. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, we have a picture of there. And she took a picture of it in order to make sure that everything was put back exactly the way it was. There's a weird bit about his desk and a book about again the horse hooves / horseshoe trade. There's a weird bit about size of fences, which again helped us kind of solve that one clue. The second letter looks maybe its edges are burned. The second letter has these in the lower border, and again that helps us solve that clue. And that secret message is, I found a way. So Felix contacted the sheriff's department regarding something with Dr. Cortez. We're not quite sure what, but maybe he's aware or suspicious of maybe those Cobra tests. Had Sheriff take the tour, but Sheriff didn't find anything concerning, or he's in on it. Inspector's notes, so Megan's notes. Lots of awkward language, similar to the first one. Supports that there is no danger in being a listening friend. Compares this process to photography, even though the metaphor isn't really that accurate and just kind of weird. Says that she's looking out for my mental well-being. That was kind of out of the blue and kind of weird. I don't know why that was stated, but again, it kind of mirrors Sylvia's letter to Jasper. So there was a kind of a weird note or weird topic in the sheriff's letter that the grounds were overgrown. I remember before that Clark Love put Jasper in the garden and he kind of wrecked it, so maybe that is related or just a random statement. Dr. Willa Cortez. Per Felix, Dr. Cortez lied about access to all parts of the facility. And again, why wasn't Felix there if you wanted the police involved? Just seems kind of weird to me. And that's kind of the kind of new information for the people that we've already have. We have one new character that I know of here, Randall. He's the sheriff. He was asked to investigate and didn't find anything suspicious. So that's kind of what we know right now. Again, things are kind of growing and building off of the previous one, and maybe next month's will also kind of help complete the story a bit.